My partner suggested we should try seeing other people to strengthen our relationship, but instead of finding random strangers, I ended up getting close with her best friend. And now she's spiraling completely out of control after realizing she's the one who destroyed everything. This tale is called My Partner Suggested We See Other People, so I got involved with her closest friend. Now she's completely unraveling. Hello Reddit, didn't expect to find myself posting relationship drama here, but I desperately need to vent the situation and possibly gather some perspective. I'm a 28-year-old guy, and until recently believed I was in a rock-solid partnership with my girlfriend Sophie, who's 27. We've been an item for 3 years, cohabitating for 2, and truthfully, everything seemed fantastic. Like, I was discreetly browsing wedding rings during lunch breaks. Fantastic. We connected through common acquaintances at a game night. Completely ordinary beginning. She giggled at my terrible jokes. I appreciated her ruthless competitiveness at Monopoly, and we simply meshed. Began dating almost immediately. Moved in together after 12 months, since it was logical we were constantly at each other's homes. Anyway, we established our patterns. Sunday breakfast treats, strolling through parks after work, streaming those awful reality programs she adores while I mess around on my phone. Typical relationship activities. Sophie handles marketing, I manage construction projects. We both maintain steady employment, good social circles, and our relatives adore each other. My mother cherishes her father consistently asks me over for sports. We were that duo others claimed restored their faith in romance. Yeah, I realize how that sounds. Currently, everything remained completely ordinary until last Tuesday. We were eating dinner. Sophie was discussing some workplace assignment, and I was midway through my meal when she casually mentions, "Hey, how would you feel about experimenting with an open arrangement?" I literally froze mid-bite, like utensils suspended halfway to my mouth, completely motionless. I assumed maybe I misunderstood, but nope. She continued explaining how she'd been researching it online, how numerous couples were attempting it nowadays, how it might help us develop individually and strengthen our bond. Is there someone particular you're interested in? I inquired, because honestly that was my immediate reaction. Who suggests open arrangements unless they've already identified someone, right? Sophie became all defensive. No, it's not about anyone specific. I simply believe it would benefit us to explore ourselves more. We're still youthful, and I don't want us waking up in a decade wondering what opportunities we missed. I sat there attempting to comprehend what was occurring. This is the same person who once became upset because a server smiled at me excessively. Now she's discussing dating others, like she's recommending we test a new eatery. Have you been experiencing dissatisfaction? I asked, because perhaps I'd overlooked something. Maybe there were indicators I should have noticed. Not whatsoever, she replied, reaching across the table to clasp my hand. I adore you. I adore us. This isn't about unhappiness. It's about enhancing our relationship even further. Consider it. We could both experience new things but still return home to each other. Numerous couples claim it strengthens their bond. One didn't know how to respond. My mind froze somewhere between bewilderment and terror. My hunger completely vanished. The meal before me could have been cardboard. Sophie, however, was energetic, practically radiant, as she spoke, continuing about limits, guidelines, communication. But all I could wonder was, where is this originating from? And yet, yeah, I recognize this makes me sound like a total doormat. I agreed, not because I desired to, not because I trusted in it, but because the sheer enthusiasm in her expression, the way she leaned forward, practically begging for me to support her, made it obvious she had already chosen. Refusing felt like closing a door she had no plans to shut. Are you certain you're comfortable with this? She asked, all concerned, like she was offering me a genuine option. We don't need to if you're not at ease. I looked at her, at how eager she appeared for me to consent. And somewhere in my mind, I understood this isn't really a choice whether I approved or not. Something was already changing between us, and if I wanted to discover what was truly happening, I had to participate. No, it's acceptable, I said, forcing agreement. If you believe it'll benefit us, we can attempt it. And just like that, I entered something I didn't support, knowing deeply I was already losing her. She became all enthusiastic, started discussing how we should create dating application profiles together, how we should establish a method for informing each other when we have planned encounters, all these specifics she seemed to have already considered. Meanwhile, I'm sitting there questioning how long she'd been strategizing this. The remainder of the evening was strange. We watched television normally, but my thoughts were spinning. Sophie was snuggled beside me on the sofa, acting like everything was perfectly fine, like she hadn't just recommended completely altering our relationship. I kept wanting to retract it to inform her I wasn't actually comfortable with it, but I didn't know how. Every time I observed her scrolling through her device with this small smile, I felt increasingly like I'd just made a massive error. That evening, lying in bed, I couldn't rest. Sophie was unconscious beside me, peaceful as possible, while I gazed at the ceiling, wondering what I'd gotten myself into. Part of me wanted to wake her and tell her no, that I didn't want to share her with anyone else, but another part was frightened, scared that if I refused, she'd proceed anyway or abandon me for someone else. So I lay there reviewing every conversation we'd had recently, attempting to determine if there were signs I missed. Was she bored? Was I insufficient? Was there already someone else? The questions kept flowing, and I had no answers. Little did I realize this was merely the start of how chaotic things were about to become. Things began shifting the very following day. Sophie spent the entire evening establishing her Tinder and Bumble profiles, requesting my assistance, selecting photos like this was some completely normal activity for a boyfriend. She even asked me to capture new pictures of her. Yes, seriously, I participated, taking photos of my girlfriend so she could appear attractive for other men. I attempted setting up my own profile too, just to demonstrate I was making an effort, but my heart wasn't engaged. Every time I tried composing a description, it felt awkward and artificial. What was I supposed to write in a relationship? But seeking entertainment, the entire situation made me feel disgusted. I believe she knew I wouldn't connect with anyone because I'm not outgoing and lack time or energy to meet new individuals. And I mentioned that to her several times, so she assumed she could go on encounters and maintain me as a fallback option. Sophie received matches immediately. Obviously, she's stunning and entertaining, but what really bothered me was how quickly she started meeting these men within 7 days. She had 3 encounters scheduled, 3 she'd display their profiles like we were gossiping about celebrity attractions. Look at this one, she'd say, shoving her device in my face. He's a fitness trainer at that upscale gym downtown. We're having coffee tomorrow. And I just nod and attempt to act like this was totally acceptable and normal. The first time she prepared for an encounter, I felt nauseated. She wore this black outfit I'd never seen before. Yes, she purchased new clothing for this and spent like an hour applying makeup. When she emerged from our bedroom, she did this little spin. How do I appear? She asked, all excited. Wonderful, I managed to say, while thinking about how that outfit probably cost more than what she usually spends on our date nights. She returned home late that evening, all giggly and cheerful. I pretended to sleep when she got in bed, but I heard her messaging someone for like an hour. The following morning, she was humming while preparing coffee, acting like everything was perfect. I began monitoring her schedule. Monday, it was coffee with a gym person. Wednesday, dinner with some attorney guy. Friday, drinks with someone who owned a food truck. Yeah, the variety was intriguing. Each time she'd return home, appearing like she'd had the greatest time. I started checking the locations she was tagging on Instagram. Not my finest moment, but I needed to understand what was really happening. One evening, I actually drove past the restaurant where she claimed she was having dinner, saw her sitting at the bar with some tall person in a suit laughing at whatever he was saying. She had her hand on his arm looking at him the way she used to look at me. The worst aspect wasn't even seeing her with these people, it was how she transformed at home. She began spending significantly less time with me, no more cuddling. She was constantly messaging someone, our Sunday breakfast tradition forgotten because she was meeting friends for brunch. I tried discussing it with her once. Don't you think you're going on numerous encounters? I asked, trying to sound casual. She looked at me like I was being ridiculous. That's the entire purpose of an open arrangement, isn't it? To meet new individuals and have experiences. You should attempt it too. I can assist you with your profile if you want, but I didn't want assistance with my profile. I wanted my girlfriend back. I wanted the person who used to get excited about ordering pizza and watching terrible movies with me, not this new version who was always dressed up and heading out the door. One evening, she was preparing for yet another encounter, guy number 6 or 7. I'd lost track, and I just couldn't handle it anymore. I went for a walk to clear my thoughts and ended up at this park where we used to have picnics at. There for like 2 hours, thinking about how rapidly everything had crumbled. My device kept buzzing with messages from Sophie. Hope you're okay. Don't wait up. Having such a wonderful time. Each message felt like she was twisting the knife slightly more. The following day, she tried telling me about her encounter, some story about how amusing this person was, how he took her to this incredible new restaurant. I just got up and left the room. She followed me, looking confused. I thought you were comfortable with this, she said, sounding actually surprised. You said you were fine with it. Yeah, well, maybe I'm not, I finally said, but you could be dating too. You're choosing to stay home and be miserable. That's when I realized she truly didn't understand. She couldn't comprehend that I didn't want to date other people. I wanted her, the old her, the one who used to love our boring normal life together. By this point, it had been 3 weeks since she started this whole open arrangement thing. 3 weeks of watching her get dressed up for other people, 3 weeks of lying awake wondering where she was, what she was doing, who she was with, 3 weeks of feeling like I was losing my sanity. I honestly thought she'd snap out of it, realize how ridiculous she sounded. I kept waiting for her to wake up and see how foolish this whole thing was, to understand what she was discarding, but she didn't know hesitation, no guilt. She was actually proud of it. She walked around like she unlocked some higher level of dating, like she'd figured out something the rest of us were too stupid to understand. And the worst part, one couldn't comprehend why she seemed content with me. So why destroy it all? Why act like what we had wasn't sufficient? That's when it finally clicked. There was no repairing this, no returning. It was finished in a way that couldn't be reversed. And for the first time, I wasn't even sure I cared anymore. The thought of her out there living it up without concern while I was stuck here drowning in it ignited something in me. I wanted to make her regret everything, make her see exactly what she discarded, but that didn't mean I had a strategy. Yet, I just knew I wasn't going to sit around suffering while she got to have all the entertainment. I hadn't determined my next move, yet I just knew I needed to speak to someone who would actually understand how messed up this all was, and that's when Emma started visiting more frequently. Emma's been Sophie's closest friend since their freshman year of college. She was always around our place, movie evenings, helping us move furniture, bringing soup when one of us was ill. Just one of those really authentic people, you know. She's a kindergarten teacher, which suits her perfectly because she's got this way of making everyone feel heard and valued. I never considered her as anything more than Sophie's friend. Sure, she's attractive, long brown hair, green eyes, always smiling, but she was firmly in the friend category in my mind. Plus, she dated this person Mark for like 2 years, though they separated a few months ago. The first time she came over after Sophie started this open arrangement thing, it was to borrow some mixing bowls for a birthday cake she was making. Sophie was out surprised with some new person, and Emma could tell something was wrong with me. You look awful, she said in that direct way. She has what's happening. I didn't intend to tell her everything, but it just poured out how Sophie sprung the open arrangement idea on me, how she'd been dating different people almost every evening, how I felt like I was going insane watching it all happen. Emma sat there listening, actually listening, not just waiting for her turn to speak. When I finished, she shook her head. That's not an open arrangement, she said. That's just Sophie doing whatever she wants without caring how it affects you. Something about hearing someone else say it made me feel less crazy. Emma started visiting more frequently after that. When Sophie was out on her encounters, we'd watch movies, order takeout, just hang out. It was nice having someone to talk to who knew both of us and could understand the situation. One evening, about a month into Sophie's exploring, Emma came over looking kind of nervous. She was fidgeting with her necklace, which I knew was something she did when she was anxious. I need to tell you something, she said, sitting on the other end of the couch, and it might make things awkward, but I can't keep pretending. My stomach did this weird flip thing. I think part of me knew what was coming. I've had feelings for you for a long time, she said, looking at her hands, like since before you and Sophie even got together, but you were with her, and she's my closest friend. So I never said anything. I started dating Mark hoping it would help me get over it, but she shrugged. It didn't work. I sat there trying to wrap my head around it. Emma, kind, hilarious, drop dead gorgeous. Emma had feelings for me. How did I not see that? She was the one who helped me pick out gifts for Sophie, the same Sophie who was still figuring out if she even wanted something serious with me. Emma, who made me homemade chicken soup when I was sick, while Sophie barely texted to check in. Had I been blind this whole time? You don't have to say anything, she added quickly. I just needed you to know, watching Sophie treat you like this, seeing how much it's hurting you, it's been killing me. You deserve better than this. I looked at her, really looked at her. Maybe for the first time, that simple green sweater somehow made her eyes glow, and her hair was up in one of those effortless messy buns, the kind that shouldn't be attractive, but somehow made her look even better. And right then I wondered how I never noticed before. At the same time, Sophie's actions were still burning in the back of my mind. She really thought I'd sit around waiting like some loyal fool while she paraded around with not just one person, but multiple, like I was some safety net just there whenever she got bored. That was her biggest mistake. She was out there doing whatever she wanted, thinking I'd still be available. When she decided to come back, nah, for me, that chapter was closed. I wasn't playing by her rules anymore. I was playing by mine. I decided to shoot my shot. I took a breath, feeling that shift, that moment where I finally took control. Emma, I started, my voice steadier than I expected. She moved closer on the couch. I know this is complicated. I know I'm probably making everything worse by telling you this, but seeing you so unhappy the past few weeks, I just couldn't stay quiet anymore. Then she kissed me, just leaned in and kissed me. I should have stopped it. I should have thought about Sophie, about our friendship, about how complicated this would make everything. Instead, I kissed her back. It wasn't just a kiss. We ended up spending the night together, and it was different. Emma noticed me, really was interested in me. She noticed when something in my expression changed. Asked what I was thinking, actually cared about the answer. Afterward, lying there in the dark, I let it all sink in, how far this had gone, how everything had shifted. The realization that I just slept with my girlfriend's closest friend, something that should have felt like crossing a line, but all I could think about was how right it felt. I thought this wasn't some meaningless rebound, some impulsive mistake. She turned to me, propping herself up on her elbow, her eyes searching mine. What are we going to do? She asked, her voice quiet but steady. I exhaled, staring up at the ceiling. I should have had an answer, should have felt guilt, conflict, something, but all I felt was relief, like I could finally breathe after weeks of suffocating in Sophie's mess. I don't know, I admitted. Emma hesitated, then said, I don't regret it. The crazy thing, I did not even for a second, because for the first time since this whole open arrangement disaster began, I saw things clearly. I wasn't the one who ruined us. I wasn't the one who broke trust. And maybe, just maybe, I deserved someone who wanted me, just me. Sophie's going to lose it when she finds out, I said. Probably, Emma agreed. But isn't it funny how she thinks it's perfectly fine for her to date other people, but the idea of you doing the same would drive her crazy? She had a point. And that's when I decided maybe it was time for Sophie to get a taste of her own medicine. I didn't tell Sophie about Emma right away. Part of me wanted to see how she'd react to little hints first. Yeah, maybe that was petty, but after watching her parade around with different people for weeks, I figured she deserved to feel what that was like. The morning after Emma left, Sophie came home from staying at Jessica's place. Pretty sure Jessica was actually some person named Jason, but whatever, she was all chatty, telling me about her girls' night while making coffee. That's when I dropped the first hint. Oh, Emma stopped by last night, I said, super casual. We had a really good talk. Sophie's hand froze on the coffee pot. Emma was here. Yeah, we hung out for a while. She's really easy to talk to, you know. Sophie put her coffee mug down too hard, splashing some on the counter. What did you talk about? Just stuff, I said, shrugging. Life, relationships, feelings. It was nice. The look on her face was priceless. She spent the next hour texting someone, probably trying to get details from Emma, while pretending to watch TV with me. I could see her glancing at me every few minutes, trying to figure out what happened over the next few days. I started mentioning Emma more and more, how funny she was, how she really understood me, how we'd been texting. Each time Sophie would get this tight look on her face, like she was trying not to react, but couldn't help it. One morning I was smiling at my phone while texting Emma, and Sophie practically jumped across the couch to see what I was looking at. Who are you texting? She asked, trying to sound casual and failing completely. Just Emma, I said. She's really Into this new show, I recommended. Sophie's face did this weird thing where she tried to smile but looked like she was in pain instead. You two have been talking a lot lately. Yes, she's great to talk to, really gets me. Sophie started doing this thing where she checked my phone when I left it lying around. She thought she was being sneaky about it, but I'd catch her scrolling through my messages when she thought I was in the bathroom or kitchen. The funny thing, I deleted any real evidence of what happened with Emma. I just left enough normal friendly text to make her suspicious and drive her crazy. Then Sophie started showing up at places where she knew I'd be. Like, I'd mention going to grab coffee at this place near work and suddenly she'd just happen to be there. Or I'd say I was meeting friends at a bar and she'd show up an hour later saying she was in the neighborhood. The best part, she started canceling her own encounters. Suddenly she was home more often, wanting to watch movies or cook dinner together. It was like watching someone try to mark their territory without admitting that's what they were doing. After countless attempts to get closer, each one met with me shutting it down. She finally came right out with it. Are you seeing someone else? Isn't that kind of the point of an open arrangement? I replied, to see other people. Yeah, but who is it? Is it Emma? Are you sleeping with Emma? I just smiled and said I thought we weren't supposed to share details about our other partners. Isn't that what you said when I asked about your encounters? Sophie lost it, started going through my Instagram followers, checking who liked my posts, analyzing every interaction I had online. She even started following Emma's social media, obsessively reading into every post or story Emma shared. The final blow came when Emma posted a selfie in a coffee shop, the same coffee shop where I get my morning coffee. Sophie called me immediately. Are you with Emma right now? Sophie, I'm at work, but you always get coffee at that place in the morning. Did you meet her there? I let her panic for a minute before saying that coffee shop has like 1,000 customers every day. People can go to the same coffee shop without it meaning anything, but Sophie wasn't buying it. She started asking me where I was going all the time, who I was seeing, what I was doing. The same woman who'd been coming home late from encounters for weeks, who never gave me straight answers about who she was with, was suddenly demanding to know my every move. Emma thought it was hilarious when I told her about Sophie's behavior. We'd been meeting up secretly, usually at her place, where Sophie wouldn't accidentally spot us. The small doubt I'd initially felt about hooking up with her was fading fast, replaced by something that felt a lot like justice. She really can't handle not being in control, can she? Emma said one night while we were cuddled up on her couch. Nope, I agreed. And the best part, she can't even complain about it without admitting she never actually wanted an open arrangement. She just wanted permission to cheat. That's when Sophie decided to change tactics. She came home one night and dropped a bomb that would change everything. I think we should close the arrangement again. I stared at Sophie as she sat there on our couch looking all serious and concerned, telling me how she thought we should focus on us again. The same person who'd been going on encounters left and right for weeks was now sitting there acting like she was doing me some huge favor. I just think we've explored enough, she said, reaching for my hand. I pulled it away. We could go back to how things were before, just you and me. I couldn't help but laugh. Just you and me, like the past few weeks never happened. Well, yeah, she said, looking confused by my reaction. Isn't that what you wanted? You haven't seemed happy with the open arrangement. That's when I decided it was time to stop playing games. You're right, I haven't been happy watching my girlfriend go on encounters with a new person every other night while barely acknowledging my existence. Her face did this weird thing where she tried to look sympathetic but couldn't quite pull it off. I know it was hard for you, but that's why I'm saying we should close things up again. We can work on us, I repeated, like how you've been working on getting to know half the people in this city. That's not fair, she said, getting defensive. You agreed to the open arrangement. You could have been dating too. Oh, I have been, I said, watching her face carefully. I've been seeing someone. Sophie went pale, like actually pale. What? Who does it matter? Isn't that what you wanted? Both of us exploring and having new experiences. She jumped up from the couch. Of course it matters. Who is it? How long? Is it Emma? It's Emma, isn't it? I just sat there letting her spiral. She started pacing around our living room, running her hands through her hair. It is Emma, isn't it? That's why you've been talking about her so much. That's why she's been avoiding my calls. My closest friend. Really funny how you're allowed to sleep with whoever you want, but the moment I do the same, it's a problem. But it's Emma, she screamed. She's my closest friend. You can't sleep with my closest friend. Actually, I said, standing up. I can. And I did. Sophie stopped pacing. She stared at me like she couldn't believe what she was hearing. What did you just say? I slept with Emma multiple times, actually. And you know what? It was great. She actually cares about my feelings, which is more than I can say for you lately. Sophie's face went from shock to rage in about 2 seconds. You're lying. Emma would never do that to me, really, because she did want to know what else. She's had feelings for me for years. Even when she was dating Mark, she was thinking about me or making this up to hurt me, Sophie said. But I could see the doubt in her eyes. I'm not. Remember last Thursday when you were out with that startup person? Emma came over. We talked for hours, then we slept together. She sees me as a person, not just some backup plan waiting at home while you live your best life. Sophie grabbed her phone, probably to call Emma. I don't believe you. Emma would never check your texts with her. I said, notice how she's been kind of distant lately, not really responding to your messages. That's why she scrolled through her phone frantically, probably seeing all the unanswered messages and short replies from Emma in a new light. This can't be happening. She muttered, this isn't how this was supposed to go. Oh, really? How is it supposed to go? You get to have fun with other people while I sit at home being the loyal boyfriend. Did you really think I wouldn't eventually meet someone else? But not Emma. She yelled, anyone but Emma. You knew this would hurt me. I lost it at that point. Hurt you? What about how much you've been hurting me watching you get dressed up for other people, coming home late smelling like someone else's cologne, barely even looking at me anymore? Did you ever think about how that felt? That was different. She tried to argue those people didn't mean anything, so that makes it Better the fact that you were just having meaningless hookups while I actually developed real feelings for someone. I intended to throw some hints here and there to let her feel the burn that she made me feel. She stopped staring at me. Real feelings. Yeah, real feelings, Emma. And it's not just physical. We talk, we laugh. We actually care about each other. When was the last time you and I had a real conversation that wasn't about your encounters or your new experiences? Sophie sat back down on the couch looking defeated. So, what are you saying? You want to be with Emma now? I'm saying this open arrangement thing showed me what I really want, and it's not someone who treats me like an afterthought. She started crying, then big dramatic sobs that probably would have worked on me a month ago, but all I could think about was how she hadn't shed a single tear over how much she'd been hurting me. We can fix this, she said between sobs. We can go back to how things were. I shook my head. No, we can't. Because now I know what it feels like to be with someone who actually values me, and I'm not settling for less than that anymore. That's when Sophie did something I never expected. She grabbed her keys and stormed out, saying she was going to Emma's place to sort this out once and for all. The moment Sophie slammed the door, I grabbed my phone to warn Emma. When I told her Sophie was heading her way, she just said, "Let her come." Emma's always been the calm one, like nothing seems to shake her. Still, I offered to come over for support. No, Emma said, "I need to handle this myself. She's been my closest friend for 10 years. I owe her that much." I spent the next hour pacing around our apartment checking my phone. Every 2 minutes the place felt weird, like when you know a storm is coming and the air gets all heavy. Finally, Emma called. Her voice was shaky. She showed up screaming. Emma said, like my neighbors probably heard everything. She kept yelling about how I betrayed her, how I'm a terrible friend, how I'd been plotting this all along. What did you say? That I've had feelings for you for years but never acted on them because she was my friend, that watching her treat you like garbage these past weeks made me realize she never deserved either of us, that what happened between us wasn't planned, but I don't regret it. Apparently Sophie didn't take that well. She tried to push past Emma into her apartment, saying she needed to see for herself if I was there. When Emma blocked the door, Sophie accused her of hiding me. "She's completely lost it," Emma said. She started listing all these random times we hung out, trying to prove we'd been sneaking around behind her back for months. Even brought up that time last year when you helped me move my couch, when she was too busy with work to help. Sophie had apparently convinced herself that every interaction Emma and I ever had was some secret sign of an affair. The time Emma brought me soup when I had the flu, obviously a cover for hooking up the group movie nights at our place, just an excuse to make eyes at each other. Then she started crying. Emma continued, like sliding down my doorframe, crying, saying she never meant for any of this to happen. My neighbor came out to check if everything was okay. It was mortifying. Sophie finally left after Mrs. Chen threatened to call the police about the noise, but not before telling Emma that she'd ruined everything and that she'd never forgive her. About 20 minutes after my call with Emma ended, Sophie came back to our place. She looked terrible. She walked in, saw me on the phone. I was texting Emma updates and just lost it. "Are you texting her right now? Planning your next meetup? How long have you two been laughing at me behind my back?" "Nobody's laughing at you, Sophie. You did this to yourself." "I didn't do anything," she screamed, throwing her purse across the room. "I suggested an open arrangement to make us stronger. I didn't tell you to go sleep with my closest friend. No, you just wanted permission to sleep with whoever you wanted while keeping me as your backup plan." She started grabbing things, pictures of us, gifts I'd given her, and throwing them in a box. "I'm going to stay at Jessica's, my real friend, someone who wouldn't stab me in the back." "Fine by me," I said. "Take whatever you want." That made her pause. "That's it? You're not even going to try to stop me?" "Why would I? You've made it pretty clear what matters to you, and it's not me or this relationship." She stopped packing and sat on the couch, suddenly looking really small. I thought you'd always be there, that no matter who else I dated, you'd be waiting when I was ready to settle down." And there it was, the truth finally coming out. I wasn't her partner. I was her safety net, her backup plan, her guaranteed happy ending while she went out and explored. "Well, you thought wrong," I told her. "I'm not some puppy waiting faithfully by the door while you're out having fun. I'm a person with feelings, and I deserve better than being your second choice." "But you weren't my second choice. I love you, Sophie, you love having me around when it's convenient. There's a difference." She started crying again, but this time I didn't feel anything. No urge to comfort her, no guilt, nothing, just emptiness. "I'll come get the rest of my stuff tomorrow," she said, finally picking up her box. "I can't be here right now." After she left, I called Emma. Just hearing her voice made me feel calmer. We talked for hours that night about Sophie, about us, about what happens next. Emma mentioned that some of their mutual friends were already taking sides, with most of them calling her a backstabber without even knowing the whole story. "I don't care," she said. "They can think what they want. I know what's real." I looked around my half-empty apartment at the spaces where Sophie's things used to be and realized I felt relieved, like I could finally breathe again. I told Emma to come over to settle with me, and she agreed. I didn't care anymore about anything. The next morning, Sophie came to get her stuff. She brought Jessica and two other friends I didn't know. Well, they gave me these nasty looks while helping her pack, like I was the bad guy in all this. Sophie had obviously told them her version of events. "Your Xbox is mine. I bought it for your birthday," she said, unplugging it. "Fine, take it." I was beyond caring about stuff like that. Emma showed up halfway through the packing session. She hadn't planned to come, but I texted her saying I needed coffee, and she read between the lines. Sophie's friends started whispering when Emma Walked in, but Emma just ignored them and handed me my coffee. Really, you're just going to flaunt this in my face? Sophie snapped. Nobody's flaunting anything, Emma said calmly. I'm just here to support my boyfriend. First time either of us had used that word. Sophie looked like she'd been slapped. The packing went faster after that. Sophie's friends kept rushing around grabbing things, probably trying to get her out of there before she had another meltdown. When they finished, Sophie stood in the doorway. For a minute, I really loved you, she said softly. No, I replied, you loved having me available whenever you wanted me. There's a difference. After they left, Emma helped me clean up. You okay? Emma asked, watching me toss Sophie's things in a donation box. Yeah, for the first time in months, and that was 2 weeks ago. Since then, life's been different. Better. Emma and I are taking things slow, doing it right. We had coffee at her favorite spot last weekend and ran into some of Sophie's friends. They ignored us completely. Emma just squeezed my hand and smiled. Sophie is still telling people her side of the story, how I cheated, how Emma betrayed her, how we secretly wanted each other the whole time. Some people believe her, the ones who matter don't. Yesterday, Emma brought over a bunch of her kindergarten students' artwork to decorate my fridge. Too empty, she said, looking at those crayon drawings. I realized something. This is what I want, someone who notices the little things, who cares about making my space feel warmer, who shows up with coffee. Just because I didn't reply to her text, instead, I helped Emma grade papers for her class while we watched that new mystery show. She loves simple, normal, real. Looking back, I'm almost grateful Sophie suggested that open arrangement, not because it was a good idea, it wasn't, but because it showed me what I really wanted in a partner, someone who chooses me first, not just when it's convenient. That's the thing about life. Sometimes the worst decisions lead to the best places, or in my case, to the right person who was there all along. Edit. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. Emma's reading this over my shoulder right now, laughing at how I described her